We met in college. She was bold, witty, and had this magnetic energy that drew people to her. I was quieter, more analytical, the kind of guy who kept his emotions close. Opposites attract, right? It felt that way. Her name's Vanessa. We were together for 10 years. Married for 7. I thought we were solid. I thought we were unbreakable. But lately, something's been off. I'd come home from work, I'm a software engineer, long hours, deadlines, the usual, and she'd be on her phone constantly. And not just texting. She'd giggle at messages, quickly flip her screen down if I walked by. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Just Karen from yoga, relax." Thing is, Vanessa doesn't do yoga. She never has. She said she started going with Karen on weekends to decompress. I noticed other things, too. She started dressing differently, more revealing. Started going out late with the girls more often, even on weeknights. Always wore perfume when she left, none when she got home. Her mood towards me shifted, too. One day she'd be unusually sweet, almost too nice, and the next, cold and dismissive like I was bothering her just by existing. I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. I mean, this is Vanessa. My wife. The woman who once flew across the country just to surprise me on my birthday. But something in my gut told me, something is very, very wrong. And then one night, she forgot to lock her iPad. What I saw next changed everything. Her iPad was on the kitchen counter. She'd gone upstairs to shower, and I was grabbing a glass of water. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just saw the screen light up. A message preview from someone named M. It read, "Last night was amazing. Still thinking about the way you kissed me before you left." He has no idea, does he? My blood turned cold. I knew right then that I had two options: walk away and pretend I never saw it. Or open the full thread and find out the truth. My hands were shaking, but I tapped the notification. And I wish I hadn't. I really wish I hadn't. There were dozens of messages. No, hundreds. Pictures. Voice notes. Some of them from during the day when I thought she was working. Others from nights she told me she was too tired for anything. Her texts to him were flirty, raw, intimate. She called him baby, told him she missed his touch. There were even jokes at my expense, calling me boring, predictable, and completely clueless. That hit harder than anything. And the guy? His name was Marcus. She saved his number under M, red heart emoji. I didn't know him, but I saw he'd sent a photo of himself. Tall, clean-cut, gym body, sunglasses, a BMW in the background. The kind of guy she used to say she hated. Too cocky, she once told me. I guess that was a lie too. I sat down at the table and stared at the screen for a full 10 minutes. My ears were ringing. I could hear the shower running upstairs, and I knew that she, the woman I built my life with, was humming happily, completely unaware that I now knew everything. And I had no idea what to do next. I waited until she came downstairs. She was in one of my old t-shirts, damp hair wrapped in a towel, humming to herself like nothing was wrong. She gave me a quick glance and said, "What are you doing up so late?" I held up the iPad. She froze. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just asked, "Who's Marcus?" There was a full 10 seconds of silence, 10 seconds where her face tried to recalibrate, figure out which light to lead with. And then, she scoffed. "You went through my stuff? Wow, really mature." That was her first reaction. Not guilt. Not fear. Not regret. Just condescension. Like I was the problem. I told her I saw everything, the texts, the pictures, the hotel receipts, the way she laughed behind my back. And she shrugged. I swear to God, she actually shrugged. "Okay, fine. Yeah. I've been seeing him," she said, crossing her arms like it was no big deal. "I didn't think you'd find out, but honestly, I'm not even sorry." I was stunned. I asked her why. Why him? Why betray me like this after all these years? And she just rolled her eyes. "Because you're boring, Nate. You don't challenge me. You're comfortable. Safe. But Marcus makes me feel alive. He's exciting. He doesn't ask me how my day was, he just takes control. And I need that." She said it like it was the most logical explanation in the world. Like it was my fault she'd been sneaking around for months behind my back. I felt something snap inside me. Not rage, not sadness. Just something empty. She grabbed the iPad out of my hand and walked upstairs without another word. I just sat there, staring at the wall. The silence was louder than anything she said. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. I kid you not, Vanessa walked into the kitchen in her silk robe, poured herself coffee, and started scrolling her phone like we hadn't just ripped our marriage apart the night before. I was sitting at the table, no sleep, still in the same clothes. I asked, "So what now?" She didn't even look up. Just said, "What do you mean?" I felt my jaw tighten. "What do I mean? You cheated on me for months. You admitted it. You laughed in my face. What do you mean, what now?" She finally looked up and had the nerve to say, "Honestly? I think we both made mistakes. You've been emotionally distant for a long time, Nate. You buried yourself in work. You stopped being spontaneous. Maybe if you'd paid more attention, none of this would have happened." That's when I realized something chilling. She genuinely believed she was the victim. She kept going, too. Said I'd neglected her needs. That I never pushed her boundaries. That Marcus saw her in a way I never could. It was like listening to someone rewrite our entire history while I sat there, barely breathing. Then she hit me with this. "I think we should try therapy. For the marriage, I mean. If you're willing to put in the work." I just stared at her. She destroyed every ounce of trust between us. And now she wanted me to help her heal from her own infidelity? The level of narcissism was stunning. But here's the real kicker. Later that day, I found out she hadn't stopped seeing Marcus. Even after getting caught, even after the confrontation. She was still texting him. Still planning to meet up. She never wanted to fix anything. She just wanted to make sure she didn't look like the bad guy when I eventually left. A couple days passed. We barely spoke. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I was going through the motions, work, home, silence. Meanwhile, Vanessa was acting cool and collected, like she'd already moved on mentally. She was texting non-stop, hiding her phone every time I walked into the room. She even smiled at her screen once, and when I asked what was funny, she said, "A meme Karen sent me." Yeah. Karen. The imaginary yoga friend again. But here's where things took a darker turn. I got a call from my boss. Apparently, someone had submitted an anonymous HR complaint against me. Said I'd been aggressive at home and it was leaking into my professional conduct. I was stunned. I asked who reported it. Of course, they wouldn't say. But it didn't take long to put it together. I work remotely half the time. The only one who sees me day in and day out is her. Vanessa was trying to destroy my credibility. Set a narrative before I could speak my truth. And it didn't stop there. I came home one evening to find her crying on the phone with her sister, loudly saying things like, "I'm scared of how he's acting. He's just not himself lately. He's so angry all the time." I wasn't angry. I was broken. But she was laying the groundwork, turning herself into the victim. Gaslighting everyone around us. Making sure that if this ever went public, I'd be the one they'd blame. That night, she suggested we separate temporarily. Said she needed space to think. I agreed, mainly because I couldn't stand breathing the same air anymore. But deep down, I knew she wasn't thinking. She was planning. 3 days after she suggested a trial separation, Vanessa packed her bags. No tears. No goodbye. Just zipped up her Louis Vuitton suitcase and wheeled it down the stairs like she was checking out of a hotel. I stood by the door, watching her. My mouth was dry, heart pounding. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. She paused at the door and said, "I think this space will be good for both of us." Then she added, "Please don't text me unless it's something important. I'll be staying with Karen." Karen. Again. Except. About 20 minutes later, I got a text from one of my neighbors. It was a photo. Vanessa. Luggage in hand. Climbing into a silver BMW. Guess who was driving? Marcus. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. I felt sick. Literally. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. The betrayal, the lies, the performance. All of it hit me at once. And as I sat on the cold tile floor, I realized, this was never about working on us. It was always about making a clean escape. She wanted a soft landing, with him. But what hit even harder? She had already started changing the narrative online. That same day, she posted on Facebook. Taking some time to focus on my healing. Please respect my privacy during this difficult chapter, broken heart emoji. No mention of the affair. No mention of Marcus. Just a vague post that made it seem like I had caused the damage. Friends started reaching out, concerned, confused. One even asked if I had done something. The seed was planted. Her manipulation was working. She didn't just cheat. She rewrote the entire story. After the Facebook post, I knew I had two options: stay silent and let her control the story, or speak up and show people who she really was. I chose the second. I didn't go nuclear. Not right away. I started with something simple. I called her bluff. I messaged a few of our mutual friends. Calmly. Respectfully. I didn't spill everything, just enough to raise a flag. I said, "I'm seeing some things online that don't reflect the reality of what's happened between Vanessa and me. If you want the truth, I'll share it. But only if you ask." It didn't take long. Within an hour, I had 3 calls. People I hadn't talked to in months, shocked, confused, angry. Not at me, at her. Because once I started showing the screenshots, yes, I had saved everything from the iPad, they realized they'd been duped. The sweet, spiritual self-care queen they thought they knew? Just a well-rehearsed act. But I wasn't done. I knew Marcus had a girlfriend. Yup. Turns out, he wasn't as single as Vanessa claimed. Through some very careful online digging, and some help from a friend who works in digital marketing, I found her Instagram. Her name was Eliza. She and Marcus had been together for almost 2 years. Pictures. Vacations. Even a post with the caption, "Can't wait to spend forever with you." I debated whether to reach out. It felt wrong. But it also felt necessary. So I did. I sent her an anonymous message with a few screenshots. 3 hours later, Marcus's silver BMW pulled into my driveway. He didn't knock. He didn't even get out. Vanessa jumped out of the passenger side, slammed the door, and screamed at the top of her lungs. "You ruined everything." And then she tried to get back into my house. She stood on my porch, fists clenched, eyes wild. "Let me in, Nate. We need to talk." I didn't move. This was the same woman who had lied to me for months, humiliated me behind my back, and then dared to make me look like the bad guy. Now she was back, like nothing had happened, because I'd blown up her fantasy life with Marcus. I opened the door just a crack and said, "There's nothing left to talk about, Vanessa." She pushed against it, hard. "You told his girlfriend? Do you have any idea what you've done? He's blocked me. He's not answering any of my messages." I stepped outside and shut the door behind me, keeping it between her and my home. I protected myself. That's what I did. I wasn't going to let you keep playing me while pretending to be the one who's hurt. She switched tactics instantly. Her voice softened. She started crying, real or fake, I still don't know, and whispered, "I didn't mean for this to happen. You weren't there for me." I felt alone. Marcus made me feel wanted. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But I'd seen the texts. The photos. The cruel jokes at my expense. The complete disregard for my loyalty, my love, my time. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry her new life blew up in her face. I told her she had 15 minutes to collect the rest of her things from the garage. That I'd already packed them. That she wasn't stepping foot back into the house ever again. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. Good. Because the man she manipulated? That guy was gone. 2 days after she stormed off my porch, I thought things had finally calmed down. I was wrong. I got a knock on the door just after 9 a.m. It was a police officer. Calm, professional. He asked if I was Nathan Carter. I said yes. Then he handed me a folded piece of paper. A temporary restraining order. Filed by Vanessa. I stood there, stunned. The officer explained I wasn't allowed to contact her, go near her workplace, or even speak about her online, because she'd claimed I was emotionally unstable, threatening, and retaliating. Retaliating? She blew up our marriage and painted me as the abuser? I didn't even know what to say. The officer looked at me like he knew this was a mess but couldn't say anything. Just doing his job. I called my lawyer immediately. Thankfully, I had screenshots. Proof. Witnesses. Even Marcus's girlfriend, Eliza, agreed to make a statement about Vanessa's lies if needed. But here's the thing, it wasn't about winning in court. It was about control. Vanessa was trying to intimidate me. She wanted me to back down. To be too scared to fight back. She wanted the last word, the final say, the ability to say, "Look, he's harassing me," while conveniently erasing everything she did. I didn't crumble. I followed the order. I didn't call her. I didn't show up anywhere she might be. I let my lawyer do the talking. But inside, I was boiling. She was trying to ruin my reputation legally now. It wasn't enough to break my heart, she wanted to erase my dignity, too. But I wasn't done. I had one final move. One that would expose her for exactly who she was, publicly, truthfully, and permanently. I'd stayed quiet for weeks. Complied with every word of the restraining order. No texts. No emails. No contact. Not even a reaction to her cryptic social media posts that painted her as some broken, mistreated wife rebuilding herself. But I was done being her silent victim. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth out there, unfiltered, undeniable, backed with receipts. So I did what she feared most. I posted the full story online. I started a private blog. Nothing flashy. No name dropping. Just facts. Screenshots of texts. Photos from the iPad. Copies of the false HR complaint she submitted. Side-by-side comparisons of her messages to Marcus and her public statements about me. I blurred sensitive details, kept it anonymous, but it was clear enough for people who knew us to connect the dots. I shared the link with a few close friends. And they shared it. And it spread. Fast. People messaged me privately, a lot of people. Some had always suspected something was off about Vanessa's stories. Others were blindsided. But no one could deny the evidence. It was all there. Not a hit piece. Not emotional rambling. Just truth. And then it happened. Vanessa's sister, yes, the same one who used to believe her side, messaged me. One line, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. She told us all you were losing it." More messages followed. Her cousin. Her best friend from college. Even Karen, the so-called yoga friend, who told me she hadn't seen Vanessa in 6 months and had no idea she was being used as a cover. Vanessa's narrative crumbled. The web of lies she spun, unraveling in real time. And when the blog hit 20,000 views in one weekend, Vanessa deleted all her social media. Gone. Just like that. Just when I thought I'd finally close the chapter, my phone buzzed late one night. It was Vanessa. "Can we talk? Please. I made mistakes. I want to fix this." I stared at the message, heart pounding, mind racing. Part of me wanted to block her. To delete her forever. But another part, maybe the part that still loved her, wanted answers. I replied, "Why now?" She responded almost immediately. "I'm scared, Nate. Marcus is gone. No one else wants me. I see what I lost, and I'm sorry." We met the next day in a neutral place, coffee shop, nothing fancy. She looked exhausted, fragile. But underneath, I saw the same manipulative glint. She tried to blame everything on me again, my lack of attention, my coldness, the pressure I'd put on her. She begged for a second chance. But I wasn't the same man anymore. I told her the truth. "I don't hate you, Vanessa. But I don't trust you. And I won't be your backup plan." She broke down crying in front of me, but I stayed firm. I walked away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. After that last meeting, I realized the hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself, it was learning how to live after it. The first few weeks were brutal. I barely left the apartment. Sleep was a stranger. Work was a distraction, but it couldn't fill the void. I felt like I was drowning in memories, our first date, our wedding day, all the promises she shattered. But slowly, I started to rebuild. I reached out to friends I hadn't spoken to in months. Opened up about what happened. Their support reminded me I wasn't alone. I took up running again, a habit I dropped years ago. It gave me time to clear my head and focus on myself. Therapy helped too. Not to fix our marriage, but to understand my feelings, my anger, my grief. To accept that sometimes, love isn't enough. I deleted all reminders of her from my phone and social media. It was painful, but necessary. I needed space to heal. And you know what? Life didn't stop. It started moving forward. I won't lie, some days are still hard. But every day gets a little easier. Just when I thought I was finally putting the past behind me, life threw me a curveball. One afternoon, I got a message from Vanessa's new boyfriend, or rather, the guy she'd been with after Marcus. His name was David, and he had no idea about Vanessa's history with me. He was serious about her, or so he thought. David asked if I could meet him. He wanted the whole story. I was hesitant at first. Why drag myself back into this mess? But something inside told me this was important. We met at a quiet diner. David was nervous, but earnest. I told him everything, Vanessa's lies, the affair with Marcus, the way she tried to destroy my reputation, even the restraining order. David was shocked. Said he felt betrayed too. Like he'd been living a lie. What struck me most was how this cycle kept repeating, Vanessa moving from one man to another, spinning stories, never owning up. That day, I realized that betrayal wasn't just personal, it was toxic. And sometimes, the hardest part of healing is recognizing when to walk away for good. By the time I finished talking with David, I realized something unexpected: anger was no longer my driving force. I was tired of bitterness eating me alive. I wanted peace. Forgiveness sounded impossible at first. How do you forgive someone who shattered your world? But I understood that forgiveness wasn't about excusing what Vanessa did. It was about freeing myself from the chains of pain. I started focusing on what I could control: my happiness, my growth, and my future. I stopped dwelling on the past mistakes and began setting boundaries, not just with Vanessa, but with anyone who tried to drag me back into that dark place. It wasn't easy. Every step forward was met with memories trying to pull me backward. But with therapy, supportive friends, and self-care, I found my footing. Most importantly, I stopped letting her story define me. Now, looking back, I see everything with clearer eyes. Vanessa's betrayal broke me, but it didn't destroy me. It forced me to confront hard truths about myself, relationships, and trust. I learned that love without respect and honesty isn't love at all. And I learned that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: don't ignore the little signs. Trust your gut. And most importantly, value yourself enough to demand the respect you deserve. Healing is messy. It's painful. But it's possible. Thank you for listening. If you found this story meaningful, please hit that subscribe button. There are more real stories coming your way, stories that might just help you heal too. Stay strong. You're not alone.